Hey guys, welcome back to another video with Coins and Cash with Brittany. Today we are going over some fancy serial numbers that are selling online for a lot of money. And without further ado, let's hop into this video with a $1 from 1988A. It's a Webb Federal Reserve note from Chicago, graded by PMG at a 66 EPQ. So let's break this note down. What exactly is a Webb note? A Webb note was a new printing style that the US BEP, or Bureau of Engraving and Printing, wanted to try out to try to streamline the printing process. If you did not know, traditionally US paper money is printed in 3 steps. The back is the first print, the border and the bust of the president is the second print, and the seals and serial number are going to be the third and final print. A Webb production note would have all 3 of the printing processes done at one time, which is very similar to printing newspaper. So how can you determine if you have a Webb note? First, you'll take a look at the back plate number. It is going to be located next to "In God We Trust" instead of in the bottom right hand corner. Next, Washington's portrait. It's going to be a little bit more washed out than normal. And third, the front plate position is going to be a number instead of a number and letter combination. So if you have one of those 3, you automatically have a Webb note. So now let's take a look at this fancy serial number. We have a radar serial number, and that means that the serial number can be read forwards and backwards and still be the same. So we have 47244274. Pretty cool serial number if you ask me. And that is why this note sold for $109. Up next, we have a $1 from 1981 Federal Reserve note from Atlanta, graded by PMG at a 63 EPQ. Now EPQ stands for exceptional paper quality, and 63 is going to be on the lower end of the uncirculated grade. What's really important for your notes is the more centered it is, the higher the grade is going to be. And if you take a look at the border of the front of this note, you can see the top and right margin is going to be thicker than the left and bottom margin. And this fancy serial number is a solid number 1s, which is super cool. So solid serial numbers can range anywhere from solid number 1s upwards of solid number 9s. And for that reason alone is why this note sold for $1,380. Up next, we have a pair of $1 bills from 2013. They are Federal Reserve notes from Atlanta, graded by PMG, with both notes grading at a 66 EPQ. And you can see that both of these notes are much more centered than the previous note. And what we have here is a rollover pair. So a rollover pair is when you have the last serial number before it rolls over to the next. So this top note is 4 with 7 9s, also known as a 7 of a kind. And then the bottom note starts at 50 million. The next note after that would be 50 million 1. And so these notes together bring a lot of value. If these notes weren't together, they wouldn't have sold for as much as they did. This pair sold for $2,040. Our second to last note of the day is a $1 1995 Federal Reserve note from Richmond, graded by PCGS banknote at a 66 PPQ. PPQ is equivalent to EPQ, which stands for premium paper quality. It also means that this note is 100% original with no staining, tears, or pinholes. And this is one of my favorite types of fancy serial numbers. It is a descending ladder, meaning it goes down consecutively. So we have 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's also another type of fancy serial number known as ascending, which means it goes from lowest to highest. The combination of the high grade and the descending ladder serial number allowed this note to sell for $2,280. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on our last note of the day. It is a $1 from 2003. It's a Federal Reserve note from Boston, graded by PMG at a 25. Now, 25 is very low on the grading scale, so this means that this note was passing people's hands. It was out in circulation for quite some time before someone realized that it is a fancy serial number 1. You can see someone wrote 50 next to Washington's portrait. There is some staining on the front and back of this note. And if we take a look at the serial number, not only is it a serial number 1, but it is also a star note. And if you don't know what a star note is, during the printing process, if a note does not meet the standards for the quality control manager, or if a note has an error on it, a quality control manager will remove that note and they will replace it with a star note. This one just so happens to be a serial number 1. So due to the fancy serial number 1 and it being a star note is why it sold for $6,600. If this note would have been in much better condition, it would have easily sold for over $10,000. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one.